You're tuned in to KWJZ LP High Rock at 107.3 FM.
Welcome to Everett Voices. This is a series of podcasts featuring interviews from the Everett Public Library's Oral History Collection. These interviews were conducted by historians David Dilgard and Margaret Riddle at the Everett Public Library in the 1970s. Dozens of longtime Everett residents were interviewed about their memories of life in Everett in the early 20th century. Their recorded reflections on the people, places, and events in Everett are a wonderful connection to a bygone era in local history. Thanks for listening. The tents, the animals, the acrobats, the clowns, the caravans, the bands, the parades, the scams, the stunts, the sideshows, the thrills, the chills, the circus. The history of the circus in the United States is nearly as old as the nation itself. The circus is light entertainment, but it's also an important touchstone in American popular culture. Circuses have been popular attractions in Everett ever since Leon W. Washburn's Great European Railroad shows first came through town on July 10, 1893, 2 months after the city of Everett was incorporated. In the early 20th century, multiple circus shows performed in Everett, including Norris and Rowe's New Big Shows, Sell's Floto Circus with Buffalo Bill, A.L. Barnes' Big Three-Ring Wild Animal Circus, and, of course, the Ringling Brothers. Many residents of early Everett had fond memories of the circus shows. First, listen as George Wardell describes the circus parades and dog and pony shows.
I couldn't tell you.
Can you remember when they had circus parades that were like?
Oh yeah. Whenever a circus came to town, they always had the parade before they opened the circus, or the day before. And there was this Rose pony show. They used to come here, and they'd have a parade before they came. Dog and pony show. They used to have quite a pretty good sized circus. Norris and Rose Dog and Pony Show. Norris and Rose Dog and Pony Show. They put on the circus. They traveled all over, and I can remember we thought that was quite wonderful. Of course, Barnum and Bailey, I don't know if they came here. I seen them, but I know it was in Tacoma or Seattle.
Ted Myers also remembered the excitement of going to the circus regularly. He described the various locations where the circuses were held over the years.
And we lived on 24th Street.
The circuses used to come where the high school was now?
Yeah, where the high school, the present high school, that was the circus ground. And then after they built the high school, they moved the circus up here. There were no houses here, so they had their circus up here.
Up on Rucker Hill?
Over on Laurel Drive.
Okay.
They held it up there for 2 or 3 years. Then that bridge got so shaky that the doggone elephants wouldn't go across it, wouldn't walk on it. So they had to hold it then down at Seavers Park, down there where Seifert's lumberyard home store is.
What about the circuses? Did you go to a lot of the circuses? I mean,
my dad was very kind to me in that respect. There was a circus in town and I was supposed to go, and I did. Yes, I think one of the things that the earliest circus that I actually have a memory of is there where the high school is now. It was a Ringling Brothers circus. And at that time, of course, the automobile was just coming. But they were just little wood carts, made to look like a buggy.
Yeah.
Listen as Roy Sievers reflects on the end of the circus heyday in Everett and on the circus parades up Hewitt Avenue.
We had 1 to 2 circuses come in every year, and that was a great day. I remember us kids would go down on the weekends, and later on when I was working down there, you were down there at 4 o'clock watching them come in, and you stayed until 11 or 12 when they pulled out. It was a lot of fun just watching them. The main part was watching them raise the big tent and then tear it down. Barnum and Bailey, Ringling, and those were the Barnum and Bailey and Sells Floto. Those were the big ones, and then there was a lot of small ones. Carnivals were held there every year, too. The last circus we held, we marked off what area they could have, and of course when they came in watching them, you just watched, that's all. They took over, it was all. We lost all, could do nothing that day, and they even parked their horses under part of our woodsheds, and it was just a general mess as far as customers were concerned. So that was the last one we had, and I don't remember when that was. I know Dad was gone, so it must have been around the late 30s, 39 or 40, in there sometime that the last circus was held.
Was that about the time?
Tom Mix Circus used to come in.
Tom Mix. Yeah, I've talked to people who remember Tom Mix's circus in town. Yeah. Was that about the time that circuses like that, tent shows, were not coming around anymore? Like, by the 40s, were there still tent circuses that would come to Everett?
Not so much. It degenerated down to the Tom Mix type, just a small, maybe one-ring circus, and more carnival type. But pretty well, there just wasn't the area to, there's still more people here, but I don't know, I can't tell you why.
Dying out. Yeah. What about the parades, the circus parades? Do you remember
Well,
those?
yes, they were up through town with all the elephants, the animals. They went on up Hewitt, and that was the usual thing on the day of the morning of the circus, ballyhooing the afternoon show, of course.
Irwin Carbonneau was born in Wisconsin in 1891 and moved with his family to Everett in 1902. His father worked in the mills in Robe. Irwin had a steady but unusual job even as a child. He worked as a trombonist for different bands and the Ringling Brothers. His work as a circus performer meant he traveled across the country while his family stayed in Everett. Irwin recalls several fascinating details of circus life in Everett and elsewhere. He shares memories of his work with celebrities such as heavyweight boxing champion Jess Willard and cowboy superstar Buffalo Bill Cody.
The first time I come here, we played here where the auditorium is. And where the Catholic Church is over there, that was the dining room. And right back of that, where that, facing Colbert was the blacksmith shop. And we were set up partially we crossed Westmore. There was nothing on the other side of the Lincoln School set there, a little wooden schoolhouse.
And that was the traditional place the circuses set up when they played?
That was about the only place that had room enough for a big show like that. And then later on in years, H.O. Seifert put in that, they bought that old block down there where they are now. And that was the circus lot for many years. The big ones could get on there. I went in there with the Daly brothers. That was a big outfit. I went in several times with Sells Floto there. They were out of Denver.
So you worked with Sells Floto as well as Ringling?
Oh, I was with a dozen circuses later on. Yeah.
Wow. What other circuses were there at that time besides Ringling?
Well, there was L.G. Barnes. He had a little ragged outfit. Grew to be one of the finest wild animal shows in the world. And then there was P.T. Barnum, and there was Ringling Brothers. Them were the two big ones. Sells Floto was owned by the Denver Post. The daughter of one of the owners is president of the Denver Post now. We became acquainted. I met her, and we got pretty friendly one time. I traveled with several. Jeff Willard was with us that season.
Oh, yeah?
The year I traveled, the first year I traveled with South Florida.
Was that a usual thing to have a celebrity then that would be included in the?
Well, that was the after show. After the main show, but they'd sell tickets during the main show. For the after show, Jeff Willard was one of the feature attractions. He'd take anybody on that wanted to box him.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd have cowboys and cowgirls.
What about Buffalo Bill? Was he at? When was he?
I was with Buffalo Bill a very short time. I think I was with him about 3 weeks. He never was sober.
Oh, really?
I've got a slide of his grave in Denver. It's out just a little ways out of Denver. But
that was oriented more toward cowboys and Indians.
That's all it was. There was no performers. That is, there was no bar performers, none of that kind of stuff. It was all Wild West. The stagecoach and the Indians. And
how did Sells Floto compare to Ringling or Barnum at that time? Was Sells pretty?
Sells Floto?
Yeah, they're pretty big. I mean, they're pretty.
And they were about half as big. The two kings was Ringling Brothers that came up out of Baraboo, Wisconsin. And their winter quarters are still there. Now it belongs to the Wisconsin State Historical Society. And they have the dells, and they have boats on that dells. They have quite a few things. I think they got 5 programs. But Ringling Brothers now is Henry was with them, and John lives in Europe. Now they were the 2 sons of the only Ringling girl. There were 7 Ringling boys and 1 Ringling girl, and they practically lived on the show when they weren't in school. And they lived with their uncle in his private car. And then later on, he bought up 5 or 6 circuses. And I got the history of it. I belong to Circus Band of America. I got, in our white shop, we just quite 9 of them about. And the printer broke it. And they got into bad straits. But they got out of it eventually. And then they had that fire, that cost them $3 million. And they had to pay that off time after time. But they wouldn't allow no gambling, no nothing.
Was there gambling connected with a lot of the circuses that came through sideshow?
In the early days, yes, in the sideshow.
Was that sanctioned by the people who were running the circus, or was that?
Well, yes, it was sanctioned by them because they got a percentage of it. They got 50% of that.
Yeah. What kind of setups were going on?
Oh, there was roulette wheels, and the shell game was the biggest one. The 3 shells with a piece. You bet on which one sunk. He shuffles them around. That was the biggest game in all of them. You never catch him because half the time the pea wasn't there. He'd get it up in his fingers. Yeah, I used to die laughing at some of them.
Well, was the sideshow a standard part of the circus in those days, or
was the sideshow was part of the circus? That is, it was held in a separate tent. Ringlings had some good freaks and things like that. They had a legitimate show. There was no gambling on the Ringling show. There was no gambling on the Barnum show either. They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't have them guys around because there's nothing staged, you know.
Right. What sorts of sideshow exhibits would you see at a typical circus, say, turn of the century?
Well, you'd see the dwarfs, and you'd see the fat lady, you'd see the giant, you'd see the sword swallower, and you'd see the electrocution of high-frequency electric. They strap them into a chair and turn on the electricity, and the fire would fly, but she wasn't getting hurt. It was high frequency. And they stored in the box. That's why they stuck. A girl got in the box and they stuck a lot of swords and all that. But she wasn't there. But they had some awful good freaks. Oddities, a two-headed cat, we say. A snake with two heads. I saw one on the television here just the other day. And of course they had the snake charmer with their big snakes and had the fortune teller, you know. And
did Ringling go in for some of the more bizarre sorts of freaks, like geeks, for instance, somebody bites the head off chickens, that kind of number? Was
no, no.
Was that more?
Oh, that's more carnival stuff than circus. No.
So they tried to maintain some sort of a level of taste as far as.
Well, of course, you take them circuses. You take the big circuses in the early days, and they run excursions. They come in there by the thousands, you know. And of course, they were getting $1 a throw, and today Ringling Brothers gets $10 a throw. But for Paulsell, that was a beautiful show. Hagenbeck and Wallace, that was a beautiful show. Hagenbeck was one of the largest animal men in the world. He was a buyer and trainer, but he was a German from Germany. And they brought that show over here from Germany.
Did you, as a performer yourself, did you get to know pretty well a lot of the different characters who worked with the circuses here?
Well, you knew all that you met. You see, the dressing tent and the pad room were side by side. The pad room is where they get the animals ready, and the dressing tent is divided into two sections by a canvas wall. The women in one end and the men in the other. And your trunks are all lined up, you see, and their trunks are all lined up. And you meet them, yes, because you pass them coming or going, maybe they're coming off and you're going in. And then in the dining tent, all the professionals ate at the same table. You sat in groups according to what you did. And if you was in the high wire, or in the high wire act, why all them people were doing high wire, trapeze, single traps, and slide for life and all that, they'd be all at that same table. Well, of course, when a new one came in, he got up and he introduced himself, and he was part of the.
Is there a pretty close feeling between
Very close, because if you got caught talking to a town girl, for instance, you were fired.
Oh, really?
Right there. Don't matter who you were. You were fired if you caught you talking.
Why was that? What was the thinking behind
Well, look at the trouble it could cause.
You don't need a scandal in a small town.
That's all. Another thing, you could be in the back lot, and some of the professional women had little tents. And hot days, they'd put them up for them, and they'd have their comfortable seats in there. They might have a little tea party among themselves, you know. But if you met one in the backyard, she belonged to one act, you belong to another. You're not supposed to speak to her until you get her introduced to her. And the backyard will run you right over to the ticket office and hand you your money, and you're gone. There's no argument about it.
Was this just with Ringling, or was this common?
Oh, no, most of the good circuses. Of course, there was a lot of Jippo shows. You know, they always had that. Even today, you got fake news.
One thing you might know that I always been curious about. Is there a fake involved in sword swallowing or fire eating? Is that a fake, or is that what the person really does?
No.
And if so, how do they do it?
I don't know, I never did it.
But
I got a friend here that works for the state that does it.
Oh, really?
Yes. He's lived down on that island right here where you go across Lake Washington.
Oh, Mercer Island?
Mercer Island.
Yeah.
2 years ago, he was our national president on the circus. He can do it, and he never was with the circus. And the Dr. Hurley that used to be here, across from Elstone, he was a good sword swallower. And I asked him how he come to do that. Oh, he said he just kept working at it.
Wow.
I never went for much freak business.
Well,
Oh, yeah. Oh, the circus life was a good life them days. But of course, Ringling, they don't have any more tents, you know. That's
when
all.
did the tents disappear?
Huh?
When did the tents disappear? When did they start using
Tent has been Ringling after the big fire. The next season they came out. They came in, they come out in auditoriums, ballpark. It cut their cost of operation tremendously because now they have no more horses, only for trained horses. They don't have any more than great big heavy wagons, you know, that weigh tons. And they got a tractor, enormous tractor, and he'll hook 8-10 wagons down at the train and away he goes, right on up to the lot and right back again.
Did they have their roustabouts to travel right with them, or did they hire
Oh,
people
no.
when they came to town?
They had roustabouts, they had colored people. We had a lot of white people too, but white, and someone, you know, would get a few wrinkles out for a good meal and ready to go. Because, you see, if you stayed the season, if this was your first year, they would give you 10%. If you stayed the whole season, everybody now, I'm speaking of everybody. The roustabouts and the drivers, everybody, stake drivers and everything else. And if you stayed the second year, you got 20%. So, them colored men, well, I had a friend, a colored man. He was boss stake man. And they used to use 8 and 10 men driving the same stake. They don't have that anymore. They have power. And he was with Reagan Brothers 60 years. And when he got so old that he couldn't do too much, he got his pay just the same.
What?
And he'd go around and look and see that there was no lighted cigarettes, and if there was a hammer laying someplace, he'd pick it up and take it over to the wagon that belonged to him.
So they were pretty loyal to their personnel that had been with them.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yeah. Henry and I were very good friends. We correspond. He's with the show now.
Oh, he still is?
Yeah. You see, they sold it. The two boys sold the Ringling to and Mabel. She lives in Montana. She never was with the circus. The two boys' mother married an engineer on the railroad, and he never was with them. These tractors, they'll do more. They had a pull-up team. They had the drag-down team that pulled along. These tractors, you know, they go down there with, they'll get on the level, they'll hook about 15 or 20 wagons all together, and then big tractors will go up on the runs, you see, and they never come off there. They stay right there and put on brakes, block them in, tie them down. Yeah.
So you played. So you were a trombonist first, and then you went to the trapeze.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, I went to the trapeze, and I did a leap back. You run down an incline and you hit your springboard and you turn 2 somersets. Over a couple of elephants and a couple of horses and a Shetland pony. Your mat is out there. You landed on your mat. Sometimes you landed the right way and sometimes you didn't.
You must have to stay in really fine shape to be able to do that. How often do you practice?
I think the people in the circus is the best athletes that I know of. They must be best trained athletes. I flew for years, and the youngest Nelson girl, we did over and under. I would leave my stand and I'd go out, and he would catch me. And he'd make one swing back, and when he started this way, she started that way. He'd let me go, and I'd go over her, and she was coming under me, and he'd grab her.
Wow.
I was going back to the stand. She had a rose in her mouth now. You went to pick that rose. When she was going by me, you're traveling about 60 miles an hour, you know.
Yeah.
I missed the net entirely. Broke both of my shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah. How often did you have accidents while you were working with the circus?
Oh, that's the only accident I ever had. But if you put in more time, the minute the tent is up and the rigger says your rig is up, then you go in your work clothes and you practice. I don't care how many shows you're going to give that day, you're going to practice. And you do more practice in falling than you do for your act itself. It's easier to do your act than it is to learn how to fall. And you can't make no mistake. There's no second choice. You're either going to make it or you don't make it. And of course, now it's a little easier because they have new webs. Them days they had that big rope, you know.
Yeah.
And you break your neck if you landed on your head. And it was just as easy to come sideways and land on your head as it was to land on your back. You put in hours every day just learning to fall. You make your swing and you do a couple of somersets and land on your net and you crawl off the net and right back up the ladder you went and do it over.
Can you describe an average meal at the circus when you would?
Yes. They had marvelous meals. We used to, all the holidays, we'd have turkey, all the trimmings, everything.
Had pretty good cooks working for the circus then?
Well, they had as good a chefs as they could hire. Yeah.
Probably got a lot to do with morale, I guess, to keep the food really good.
Well, if the food ain't good, you're going with one that is good.
Yeah.
And you get a bad reputation, nobody wants to work with you. Because as far as the performer's concerned, he could go any place you know.
Why did you were saying you worked with a lot of different circuses. Why did you go from one to the other? Just
Well, you would, I'll tell you why. If you know the Ringling Brothers got the red and the blue. Now they got the gold, that's the new one, that's over in Europe. This is the first season over there.
you mean like different?
A different approach
Yeah.
to this thing. Now the red will play in Eastern Territory and the blue will come west. Next year the blue goes west and the red comes in, you see. And now, if you don't have an A1 specialty act, you can only stay with them about 2 or 3 years.
The next time you and your family go to the Everett Events Center to see the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus perform, remember that this is an activity that residents have been enjoying on and off since 1893.
You're listening to KWJZ LP High Rock on 107.3 FM. We're now the proud sponsor and official radio station for Carnation Farms.
Trust in me. In all you do, have the faith I have in you. Love will see us through if only you trust in me. Why don't you trust me? Come to me when things go wrong. Cling to me, Daddy, and oh yeah, I'll be strong. we can get along, we can get along. Oh, if only you trusted me. While there's a moon on high. While there are birds to fly. While there is you and I can be sure that I love you. Oh, stand beside me all the while. Come on, Daddy, face the future. Why don't you smile? Trust in me.